Hello and welcome back to Stitch Chemistry, the channel where I share the results of my yarn experiments. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this easy granny square blanket out of 4 skeins of big twist yarn. This video will not include how to do the stitches themselves. It's just an overview of the project that will let you know the process and yarn amounts needed to complete this blanket, which measures 34 by 34 inches or 36 by 36 centimeters. Unfortunately, Joann's closed last year and big twist yarn isn't as available anymore. But I had some yarn left in my stash, and big twist yarn has been seen at various yarn suppliers, so hopefully anyone who wants to make this blanket will be able to find what they need to make one for themselves. To make this blanket, you will need 2 skeins of big twist value in a variegated colorway and 2 skeins of big twist value in a solid color. For my blanket, I used the variegated colorway Rainbow Bright, and I used the solid color Black. Big twist value yarn solid color skeins are 6 ounces, and the variegated colors are 4.3 ounces. You will also need a size H or 5mm crochet hook, a darning needle, and scissors. In a previous video, I swatched 7 different big twist value colorways. Here are the granny square swatches for those colorways, so you can see some other color options for this blanket. If you want to see what these colorways look like in other stitches, you can check out the full video. A link for the video is in the description. For this blanket, you will need to make 8 granny squares in each color, for a total of 16 granny squares. The granny squares for this blanket have 8 rows. The average weight of the variegated squares was 0.87 ounces, and the average weight of the solid squares was 0.96 ounces. I didn't use chain spaces between my granny square clusters, but there was enough yarn left over at the end that I think if that's how you prefer to make your granny squares, you would have enough yarn to put a chain space in. Worst case scenario, you might need to make the border slightly smaller. There is a chart at the end of this video where I show the amount of yarn I used and what was left over. You can reference that if you want to make changes to the blanket and need to know how much yarn you have to work with. I didn't block these squares, and I wish I would have. The solid colored yarn was slightly thicker than the variegated yarn, which made the squares slightly different sizes. When I connected the two, the variegated squares were stretched out, which slightly warped the blanket. I would recommend blocking the squares first, then lay them out in your preferred design. I used the mattress stitch to connect my squares, but I think there was enough leftover solid colored yarn that you could connect them with the slip stitch method if you would prefer. To start the border, I made 4 rows of single crochet with the solid color. For the first row, I put 3 single crochet stitches in the corner of the granny square. And for rows 2, 3, and 4, I put 3 single crochet stitches in the corner stitch from the row below. I tried 2 options for the variegated portion of the border. First, I tried 1 row of double crochet. Then I tried 3 rows of single crochet. You can see the look of both full borders here. When I swatched these colorways, I found out that the big twist variegated skeins each had a main color, and you can see in the circled portions that the double crochet border had very long stretches of purple. I preferred the more layered or mixed up look, so I chose the single crochet option for my border. To finish the border, I did another 2 rows of single crochet, again with 3 stitches in each corner stitch. The finished blanket measures 34 by 34 inches or 86 by 86 centimeters. As I mentioned earlier, this blanket was not blocked, so the size would change if you blocked your squares. I also want to point out this small bump in the border of my blanket. When I went up a row at some point in my border, I think I accidentally put a single crochet in the chain stitch from the start of the row below and ended up adding an extra stitch into my border row. So just like I would suggest blocking the squares, I would also suggest using a stitch marker to mark the first stitch in each round of your border to avoid accidentally adding extra stitches like I did. I sometimes like to adjust patterns, and it's always helpful to know how much yarn I have to work with if I want to make changes. So here are all the amounts of yarn I used for each portion of the blanket in case you want to make changes to the border, add a chain space between your granny square clusters, or just check to see if your partial skeins are enough to finish this project. Overall, I thought this was a very easy blanket to make. It's a nice size, and I really enjoy the colors. I really enjoy making granny squares, but I'm not a big fan of sewing them together. So I think I would try connecting these with the slip stitch method next time, instead of sewing them with the mattress stitch. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this project in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.